The real reason a married man can't disconnect from you. Carl Jung. Have you ever wondered why a married man seems unable to walk away from you, even though he knows he should? Why does he always come back, even when he promises he will stop? The answer is not where you might think. It's not about love. It's not about you being special, and it's definitely not about him leaving his wife. Carl Jung discovered something disturbing about the male psyche that explains exactly why certain men get attached to certain women in an almost obsessive way. And when you understand the real psychological mechanism behind it, you'll realize that you're not dealing with a novel. You're dealing with something much deeper and perhaps darker. Get ready, because what you're about to discover is going to completely change how you view this situation. The truth is brutal, but necessary. 1. The projection of the anima, the woman he never had. Within the mind of every man, there is a feminine image built since childhood. This image is not you, it is not his wife, it is not any real woman. It is a composition of everything he has lived, felt, and desired in relation to the feminine since he was born. The mother who welcomed or rejected him, the first crushes of adolescence, the movies he watched, the songs he listened to, all this created an internal portrait of what the ideal woman would be. And here's the problem. When he looks at you, he's not seeing who you really are. You are seeing this image projected on you as if it were a movie being shown on your skin. This projection works as a powerful filter that distorts reality. You become, in his eyes, the embodiment of something that exists only in his psyche. That's why he can't disconnect. It's not you he genuinely loves. It's the idealized version he created and put on top of you. This imaginary woman has all the qualities he misses in marriage, all the characteristics he desires but never had full access to. She is free where the wife is controlling. She is mystical where the wife is predictable. She is adventurous where the wife is routine. His marriage represents the raw reality, the unfiltered day-to-day, the bills to pay, the discussions about money, the intimacy that has become an obligation. When the novelty of the marriage wears off, that inner image begins to scream louder. He looks at his wife and sees a real person with defects, limitations, bad days, tiredness. There is no room for fantasy there. So he needs to find somewhere a blank canvas where he can reproject that perfect woman who lives inside him. And you showed up at the right time. You probably have traits that resonate perfectly with this image of him. Maybe it's your independence. Maybe it's the way you listen without judging. Maybe it's the freedom you represent. It doesn't matter exactly what, but something in you activated this projection mechanism intensely. And the more he projects, the harder it is to move away. Because moving away from you would mean losing again that ideal woman that he pursues his whole life without knowing it. The cruelest thing about all of this is that you are being loved by something that is not real. He says that you are different from everyone else, that you have never felt that before, that you are special. And technically, it's telling the truth, but not in the way you imagine. You are special because you have unintentionally managed to perfectly embody his fantasy. 2. Marriage as a psychological prison. His marriage is not just a social contract or a choice gone wrong. It is a complex psychological structure that keeps him trapped in ways that he himself does not fully understand. When you look at it from the outside, it seems simple. If you're unhappy, why don't you leave? But inside his mind, there is a tangle of guilt, fear, obligation, and identity that makes the exit practically impossible. And it is precisely this internal prison that makes you even more necessary for him. Think of marriage as a complete identity that he has built over the years. He is not just a married man, he is the husband of so-and-so, the father of the children, the son-in-law of the family, the provider of the house. Breaking out of this structure doesn't just mean ending a relationship, it means destroying an entire version of who he believes himself to be. And this terrifies most men in a deep and primitive way. There is also the fear of social judgment that paralyzes. He knows exactly what people are going to say, that he destroyed a family, that he is selfish, that he is having a midlife crisis, that he will regret it. The social pressure to maintain a marriage, especially when there are children involved, is enormous. And men, contrary to what it seems, are extremely sensitive to the opinions of others. They need to be seen as responsible, reliable, honorable. Guilt is another devastating component of this imprisonment. He looks at his wife and sees years of shared history. He sees the woman who was there when he had nothing, who supported him in difficult times, who built a life with him. How to abandon someone like that, how to look into the eyes of the children and explain that Dad has found someone else. This guilt is not only moral, it is visceral. And there's more. Marriage offers a dangerous comfort zone. As dissatisfied as he is, there is a predictability there that is comforting. He knows what to expect, he knows the routine, he understands how things work. To get out of this means to dive into the unknown. It means starting over, reorganizing life, facing legal processes, dividing assets, creating a new routine. So what happens? He creates a double life as an unconscious solution to this dilemma. You become the outlet that allows him to stay in prison without going completely insane. This unhealthy balance is exactly what keeps him from letting go of you, but also what ensures that he will never really be with you. If you want to know why a married man can't disconnect from you, it's an unconscious pattern. The Jung method explains it, pinned in the first comment. 3. You as the mirror of your shadow. Every human being has a dark side that they hide from themselves and others. They are the desires that society condemns, the impulses that we have learned to repress, the desires that have taught us to be ashamed. During years of marriage, he built an image of a responsible, reliable, predictable man. But underneath this social mask is a set of unmet needs that he never fully expressed, and you, unknowingly, have become the mirror where this dark side of him can finally see itself reflected. When he's with you, parts of him that have gone numb wake up. Maybe it's the spontaneity he lost in the routine of marriage. Maybe it's the sensuality that became mechanical with his wife. Maybe it's the vulnerability he can't show at home because he always needs to be the strong one. You have created, even if unconsciously, a space where these rejected aspects of him can exist without judgment. This dark side is not necessarily bad or immoral. Often they are just natural parts of the personality that have been stifled by social expectations. The man who wants to be adventurous but lives a bureaucratic life. The man who wants to be an artist but has become a businessman. The man who wants to be free but has stuck himself in commitments that now seem suffocating. You represent everything he gave up to be what he thought he should be. The intensity of the connection comes precisely from this. When he looks at you, he's not just seeing another woman. He is seeing pieces of himself that were buried so long ago that he no longer remembered they existed. It is like finding lost parts of one's own soul. That's why the feeling is so strong, almost spiritual at times. He feels that you understand him in a way that no one else does. The problem is that this process is completely unconscious. He doesn't know that he is using you as a mirror. He genuinely believes that it is true love, soul connection, destiny. But in reality, it is a deep psychological process where he is trying to integrate fragmented parts of himself through his presence. This explains why he can't disconnect even when he tries. Moving away from you would be like losing access to those essential parts of who he is again. It would be to go back to being just the edited and socially acceptable version that he shows to the world. 4. The fantasy that fuels emotional addiction. The relationship between you does not fully exist in reality. Much of it happens in his head, fueled by fragmented conversations, sporadic encounters, and long hours imagining what it could be. This fragmented structure is exactly what creates addiction. If you were together every day, the fantasy would have no room to grow. But as the relationship exists mainly in the intervals, in the absence, in the distance, he has infinite time to idealize and build narratives that do not correspond to reality. Each time you separate, his mind starts working. It recalls the best moments, conveniently forgets the difficult parts, increases the brightness of good memories. You become greater in the absence of what you are in the presence. While at home, dealing with the boring routine of marriage, the image of you grows in his head like an island paradise where everything is perfect. This mechanism works like a drug. His brain releases the same chemicals that an addictive substance would. Dopamine skyrockets when he receives a message from you, when he sets up a date, when he fantasizes about a future together. And like any addiction, it needs larger and larger doses to feel the same effect. That's why the intensity never decreases, on the contrary, it only increases with time. The very impossibility of the situation feeds addiction. If it were easy to stay together, it wouldn't have the same strength. But as there is the obstacle of marriage, commitments, guilt, society, everything becomes more intense. The forbidden has always had a special power over the human psyche. What cannot be fully possessed becomes infinitely more desirable. He wants you precisely because he can't have you completely. The conversations between you also feed this fantasy in a dangerous way. You talk about what it would be like if you could really be together. You make plans that never come to fruition. You create a parallel world where the relationship works perfectly. But that world does not exist. It is pure fiction. And the more time you spend in this fiction, the harder it becomes to get back to reality. Addiction is also reinforced by unpredictability. He never knows exactly when he'll see you again, when you'll respond, if you'll be available. This burst creates a pattern that is extremely powerful for creating dependency. The reward is not guaranteed, so the brain is in a constant state of alert, waiting, wishing, anticipating. 5. Why he'll never choose, and you know it. There's a brutal truth that needs to be told. He'll never really choose you, and deep down, you already know that. Every promise he makes is accompanied by an excuse. Each future plan has an indefinite date. Each time you ask when things will change, he deflects the subject or asks for more time. This is no coincidence. It is a pattern calculated by his psyche to maintain exactly the situation he wants, to have both worlds without having to give up either. True choice requires sacrifice. It requires him to lose something in order to gain something else. But as long as he can keep the two of you in his life, there's no real reason to choose. Why would he give up the security of marriage if he can continue to have it? Why would he give up the passion and novelty you offer if he can continue to see you whenever he wants? The current situation is perfect for him, even if it is torturous for you. Men are practical creatures at heart. They do what works. And what's working now is this double life, where he has the benefits of both sides without bearing the full consequences of any decision. He has a structured family, a preserved social image, a comfort zone at home. And at the same time, you have the excitement, the passion, the feeling of being alive that you provide. Why change this? When he says that he is going to leave the marriage, that he is just waiting for the right moment, that the children grow up a little more, that the financial situation improves, he may even believe it at that moment. But they are excuses that his mind creates to postpone indefinitely a decision he knows he will never make. The right time never comes because he doesn't want it to come. And there's something even harder. If he really wanted to be with you above all else, he would already be. People who really want something find a way. They don't spend years stalling, promising, postponing. They act. The fact that he keeps just talking and not doing should tell you everything you need to know about where you really stand on his priority list. The wife, no matter how much he complains about her, offers something that you will never be able to offer in the current situation. Shared history, social legitimacy, family structure, emotional security built over years. You offer passion, novelty, escape. And in the mind of a married man who wants to have it all, these two things don't compete, they complement each other. He doesn't have to choose because he got an arrangement where he has both. 6. The secret role you're playing. You're not the girlfriend, you're not the lover in the traditional sense. You're fulfilling a very specific psychological role in his life that neither you nor he fully understand. This role was created by his unmet needs, by the unhealed wounds, by the parts of himself that he can't express anywhere else. And as long as you continue to fulfill this role perfectly, he will continue to need you. Often this role is that of an emotional mother, the person who listens without judging, who welcomes, who accepts, who offers an emotional lap that he does not have at home. He can share with you vulnerabilities that he would never show his wife because he has built an image of strength and control in the marriage. With you, he can be weak, he can cry, he can have doubts, he can be human. And this creates a deep emotional dependence. Other times the role is that of an inspiring muse. You represent the possibility of a different life, of unfulfilled dreams, of a version of himself that he would like to be but abandoned along the way. When he is with you, he feels more alive, more creative, more connected to who he really is. You become the symbol of all that he has lost by choosing security over passion. The role can also be that of an unofficial therapist. He comes to you carrying frustrations, problems, anguish that he cannot share with anyone else. And you listen, you advise, you offer perspectives, you help him process feelings that are choking. Without realizing it, you've become the emotional outlet that keeps his marriage going. Sometimes you represent lost youth. If he's older, you can symbolize a time in his life that is behind him. Being with you is like going back in time, feeling young again, having a second chance to live experiences that he missed or didn't fully enjoy. You are not a complete person for him in this context. You are a portal to the past. The most disturbing thing is that these roles are interchangeable. Depending on the moment, his mood, the situation, you become one thing or another. And all that flexibility makes you even more valuable and difficult to replace. You are the answer to multiple needs of him at the same time. That's why he can't let you go. 7. The wound you're healing without knowing it. Behind his inability to disconnect is almost always an old emotional wound that you are unknowingly helping to heal temporarily. This wound usually comes from childhood, from past relationships, from traumas that he never fully processed. And something about you, the way you treat it, the attention you give, the way you see it, touches that wound in a way that relieves the pain even momentarily. It can be the wound of abandonment. Maybe his mother was emotionally distant, or his father left home when he was a child, or he went through significant rejection in the past. And you, with your constant presence, with your messages of affirmation, with the way you are always there when he needs it, you are healing this wound. Every time you demonstrate that you won't let go of it, you touch that bruised place inside it. It could be the invisibility wound. Many men grow up feeling invisible, unseen, not understood in their particularities. And you came in and you really saw him. Not just the successful man, or the husband, or the father, but the person behind all of these roles. You saw the essence of it in a way that no one else did. And this heals a deep pain of not feeling recognized for who you really are. It can be the wound of inadequacy, the feeling of never being good enough that many men carry since childhood. And with you, he feels enough. You don't demand, you don't criticize, you don't compare, you don't demand. You accept him as he is. And for the first time in his life, he can let his guard down and not try to be perfect. This relieves an internal pressure that he has carried for decades. It can be the wound of a lack of passion. He grew up in an environment where love was responsibility, commitment, duty. But it was never that fire, that intensity, that overwhelming desire. And you brought that into his life. For the first time, he is feeling what he has always seen in movies but never experienced. And this is healing the wound of having lived a lifetime without knowing true passion. The problem is that you are not the real cure. You are the anesthetic. The wound remains down there untouched, only temporarily relieved by his presence, and that explains why he always comes back. The pain returns when you walk away, and he needs another dose of the medicine you offer. But as long as he doesn't do the real work of healing those wounds internally, you'll continue to be needed as a palliative. 8. How to break the cycle and regain your power. Breaking this cycle doesn't necessarily mean cutting off contact dramatically, although sometimes it's the only real way out. It means first understanding that you have been participating in a complex psychological dynamic where you are not seen as a complete person, but as a solution to problems that you have not created and cannot solve. Recognizing this is the first step to regaining your power. As long as you're stuck in the fantasy that one day he's going to choose you, he's going to change, he's going to get out of marriage, you're giving his power away to an illusion. The second step is to stop accepting emotional crumbs